Woohoo. Hi, everyone. And I know this is the last talk, so you're all tired. So please bear with me for another 20 minutes and we'll be done. Big thank you to Lakekeeper and Databricks for hosting this wonderful meetup. And thank you for all of you for joining. And yeah, I'm going to talk today about upgrading your infrastructure, like existing data stack, to Iceberg with DLT and Lakekeeper. Um, a couple of words about myself. So my name is Violetta, and my background is actually machine learning related. I've started as a data scientist, and as this GIF accurately pictures, at some point I pivoted to data engineering. Now I work in customer success team at a company called DLT Hub. Then a little bit about the company, just a small advertising, but it's open source, so it's a fine enough, hope. Have you heard about DLT by the wave of hands? Can you show me? Oh, nice. A lot of people. This is really cool. So for those of you who don't know, this is an open source Python library for data ingestion. Basically, you can load your data from any type of source to any type of destinations with a lot of data engineering best practices bundled inside, like schema inference. Oh, I have a slide for this. Schema inference and then evolution, data contracts, incremental loading, performance management, anything is in our library. And we actually very proud of our community because we see a lot of adoption. We see that monthly downloads in Piper crossed 1 million already. So yeah, very cool. If you have any more questions about DLT, please find me after the talk. We can talk about this. But okay, enough with this. So what I want to talk today is about Iceberg. So as a solution engineer, I usually speak with a wide range of different data professionals, like data engineers, data platform teams, and etc. And I'm kind of getting a cross-section of current tools and frameworks which used in production. And what I can say, you guys are like 100 steps ahead of the community, because from my experience, only a fraction of companies are actually using Iceberg in production in scale, especially in Europe. In US, it's a little bit better. But yeah, the point is Iceberg is still new technology. And what I see is a lot of interest in Iceberg and questions like, hey, how can I actually use it? How can I take my existing data stack, put Iceberg inside, and everything like works the same it was? So yeah, before we can answer how, we usually talk about, do you really need it? And this is a very important question because you usually need to justify your upgrade to business. Why are even using Iceberg? Why everything is working, right? So usually the reasons I hear, Iceberg is open source, of course, scaling and cost cutting, data versioning, especially important for any finance or health or manufacturing companies, which is strictly regulated, security and compliance, enabling of ML specialists, and of course, last but not the least, hype. Yeah, if you want to be on top of everything latest, you probably use Iceberg, and if you have a luxury to try it out, this is a legit reason, right? So, okay, let's assume we want to modernize our stack. So this is a very generalized version of kind of traditional data stack we can see. So there are a bunch of sources, some of them streaming, some of them not. Then it's somehow ingested to the warehouse. And then we have data analytic workflows like dbt, models, SQL, dashboards, ML workflows, and etc. And what difficulties we will see if we want to put Iceberg in it. So first of all is data ingestion. Of course, if you have custom scripts which ingesting data to the warehouse, you would need to change them to work with Iceberg, right? The second thing is you need to choose the data catalog. Of course, you can use Lakekeeper, but nevertheless, it's a decision you need to take. You need to invest time in it. Then if you have any workflows like dbt, SQL scripts, you probably would need to rewrite them or tweak them somehow. And you need to give ML specialist data access to your Iceberg tables. But enough about theory. Let's look at real world use case scenario from our client. This is anonymized and very simplified. So basically the idea here, the client has a lot of events ingesting in the Snowflake. And the challenge for them is that they're expecting 30x data increase. So this whole bunch of new events will create a bunch of new inserts in Iceberg, and as a result, in Snowflake, and as a result, they will get like 5 figures no bill, which they don't want to have, of course. And at the same time, they want to keep all the data workflows, which are like DBT models or any other stuff, untouched. So, of course, the solution for this is like house architecture. So you will have your raw data layer in the Iceberg, then you will have your kind of golden layer data in the same Snowflake tables, and then all the data analysts would be still happily running their DBT workflows. And yeah, so I also wanted to share a demo and show some code. Hopefully it will be possible with one hand. Okay, so basically, yes, I will be talking about using something called DLT project. If you're familiar with DLT, you will find a lot of things which you already know, but this is basically our new product. And the idea here is that you have everything described in YAML file. You can see here, for example, sources, you can see destinations, your pipelines, all in YAML file, then you use CLI commands to run these ingestion jobs. And yeah, this is, again, simplified use case. So we have only one source, which is event from GitHub. I already preloaded them in zip file, but in reality, you will be using like REST API to request GitHub events. Then as a destination, we have a warehouse, Snowflake, nice. And so our pipeline would be, I called it loading events. We will have a source, we have a destination, which is a Snowflake, dataset name, GitHub events dataset, cool. Everything is good. This is our existing setup. To run it, we would need to use the command. Nice, I have it pre-saved. I'm using UV run manager. If you're familiar with Python, you know what it is. But basically the command is DLT pipeline, then pipeline name, and just run. Live demo, I don't know if it will run, but hopefully. I did run it this morning, so hopefully all tables are still there. Let's go see. So GitHub event dataset. We can see tables, a lot of them, different type of GitHub issues. And on top of that, as I mentioned, our data analyst using DBT models. So I also have a DBT package with basically one staging model and two Marts model, and using DBT core to run it on top of Snowflake. So I have them here as well in GitHub Events Transformed. Cool. Dimension tables, nice. So this is existing setup. Now let's modernize it to use Iceberg. So what we can do is first, of course, change our destination. So I have it here, pre-configured. Okay, a lot of configuration, but what it is. So next destination I will be using would be Iceberg Lake, type Iceberg, of course, catalog type REST, because we will be using Lakekeeper catalog. Then we need to specify all the credentials. And this is a nice thing about Lakekeeper. I only need to specify credentials for Lakekeeper, not for S3, where the actual data lying. So for Lakekeeper, I only need like this or auth2 server URI and my token. I put my token in a file called secrets.toml. I will not show it to you because, of course. But yeah, just trust me, there is a token. And yeah, other things already pre-configured in Lakekeeper. So if we go to Lakekeeper, you already saw it today. In the warehouses, we can see the warehouse. In the details, we can see, so there is a bucket, there is even a key prefix. So if we go to S3, we actually see this bucket here, and here would be like our actual data. Nice. So when we have it ready, the only thing we need to change is the warehouse to Iceberg Lake as a destination for our pipeline. Now we can run the same again command, and hopefully it will work again. And then we will see our tables in Lakekeeper. Let's review them. Okay, cool. So the same tables, which is in the Snowflake, we can see them, very nice, and the actual data are here. So this was our first difficulty, which was data ingestion. We just nailed it. The second thing was DBT models, right? We wanted to run them, but they were running on Snowflake. Now the data is not on Snowflake, they're in the Iceberg data lake. What we can do? So the solution we suggest is something called DLT cache, and it's basically a spin of local DuckDB, which will use views on top of your Iceberg tables to run your SQL, to run your DBT models. We can also configure it here in the YAML. Again, I have it pre-configured. I just need to copy paste it. Cool. So yeah, now we will have two data sets, as I mentioned. One of them raw data, it's GitHub Events dataset, which is on Iceberg tables, Iceberg Lake. And the second one would be reports dataset, where we'll put my DBT models, my dimensional models. They would lie the same in the same Snowflake as before. And I configure my cache, as I mentioned, is local DuckDB, which will use as inputs my Iceberg tables, as an output, my dataset is Snowflake. And then I just define my transformations, I name them aggregated issues, and then I can use the same DBT package without changing anything as is, and I can run my transformations. Again, with the command here, I saved it. UV run DLT transformations, then the transformation name run. And if we run this command, we will see our DBT models materialized in Snowflake based on Iceberg tables. So we can find reports dataset. And here you can see all the models from DBT materialized. So this is also nice. We took Iceberg tables, ran the same DBT models on local DuckDB cache, and it's actually worked really fast. It's actually work faster than running them on Snowflake, especially if you deploy your cache near to your data. Cool. The second thing already passed, and I think I'm pretty much out of time, right? No? Okay, so the last piece, data access. So we also talked about this. This is a difficulty and how we can overcome this. So the project file, the YAML file you saw, you can actually package it in Python package, and then if you import it, you will get access to the catalog, to the whole data. Like, for example, in this Jupyter notebook, I just access my catalog. Again, I see all the data, which is actually lying in my Iceberg tables. And if I want to get pandas data frame, and if you're working with ML, you probably want, then you just can use df command. The other way of accessing data here is to use IBIS. I don't know how many of you heard of IBIS? Bunch of people, but basically this is in also open source Python library, which is very nice, and it can run your SQL queries on multiple different engines. You can use Iceberg to query your data, to change them. Then again, you can use local DuckDB version with views of Iceberg the same way we did with cache, and just select statements. Just use your SQL to query your Iceberg tables. And latest thing is you can use PyIceberg as well. You can get the direct access of like PyIceberg object, and then you can do whenever you want with them what you will do with PyIceberg. So yeah, this is basically access of the data. So this is also nice, check. Yeah, this is all from my side. The only thing I wanted to mention, people already talked about this, but there will going to be summit of Iceberg in San Francisco. I will be running a workshop there with Kevin from PyIceberg and Jonas. So join them, join us if you want. And the last thing is give us a star and check out our website. Yeah, this is all. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Very interesting because we have something in-house but is far less perfect than this thing. The question is, how difficult is it to kind of write your own destinations? Like,
For your own destinations is a little bit difficult than for sources because sources are easy, but there is a way to do it. So you can do it. But basically, we have a lot of destinations already implemented. Like a high chance we already have it.
do I have to use Python for that?
Yes, this is a Python library. The whole thing is in Python.
Thanks.
Pretty cool. DLT is really cool, by the way, if anybody wants to use it.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, that DLT project that you mentioned, how does this equate to what we already are doing with the normal open source, like a library where I just code it? But then also, is this also going to be part of like, is this DLT plus or is this just DLT?
Yeah, so this is a very good question. Basically, this is all that you had before, but a very nice wrapper with YAML file, everything is there, and etc., etc. And it's part of DLT plus. So it's, yeah, license version.
What's the reason you chose to use DuckDB and Lakekeeper instead of, for instance, using external Snowflake tables in Iceberg?
So we actually have these external Snowflake tables in Iceberg cooking for a while now. And the answer is it's not really really easy to integrate with Snowflake catalog. We already have an integration with Horizon, but Polaris is not there, let's put it that way. And with Lakekeeper and DuckDB, both are open source. If you don't want to be vendor locked in, this is the way to go, I think.